My sister got a telephone call from Martina McBride.
On purpose?
Huh? On purpose.
Oh, here. That's what
Okay, we're
it's,
live now.
it's just the technical funding.
Does she live out in Sharon Springs, or is that?
No, they live in Nashville. She and John live in Nashville, but they're coming in and
It's the tech-
they would like to see their barn dominium when they get it built.
Ready to go?
Yeah, I said,
Okay.
we're live.
Are you ready? Okay. We'll call the regular board meeting of the Butler Community College Board of Trustees, 4:30 on Tuesday, July 9th, 2024 to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we'll look at the agenda. We are going to eliminate item 9D. So that will come off of the agenda. Do I hear any other changes or recommendations for change?
I have a 2-minute for this talk again.
During the president's report?
I would move we amend the agenda as proposed.
Second.
Okay, I have a, what do I have? I have a motion and a second.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah, whatever that's called. So. You want to take roll call?
Okay.
Right, trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Baumgart. Yes. Trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Hueslick,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
and trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, pass 7-0. Recognitions
We
is
need to
next.
approve it as amended,
Oh, I thought we did.
or can we just take something off the agenda without
No,
that
I
happening?
guess you voted to, I guess I thought you were voting to approve the agenda as amended. I didn't pay any attention to the, was that what the motion was?
I said amend it as proposed. I think was the language I
I move
used.
we approve it as.
Sorry, thank you.
So. We're gonna call, do it again for approval of the agenda.
I'll second that. I'll second that. Now, we're-
Have a motion and a
Trustee
second.
Smith, motion, trustee Brunhart, second for approval of the agenda.
I didn't hear it the right way.
All right, trustee Good,
yes.
trustee Baumgart. Yes. Trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Hueslick,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
and trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, next recognitions.
Yeah, we have a couple of recognitions this month. I don't know if Noreen is on, Dr. Templin is on. I don't see her and I don't see her in the audience here, but do want to recognize her. She presented at the poster session at the 13th Annual Conference on Teaching and Research in Economic Education in Atlanta toward the end of May. And she presented on, the title of her poster session was "To High Flex or Not?" That's the question. And it was a discussion or a poster presentation about high flex modality, offering that in the classrooms and stuff. So we want to say thank you to Dr. Templin. She's very actively engaged, in her professional organizations. She's one of the co-advisors for FBLA. And she does a great job of bringing all of those experiences back to the classroom. So we want to say thank you to her for her great work and congratulations to her, even though she's not with us today. We also have a couple of recognitions for students that competed or that were at the FBLA National Leadership Conference. We have Caleb Harp sitting here. Caleb finished 5th in Future Business Educator and received the Distinguished Business Student Award, which was a $500 scholarship. And then Victoria Worm, I don't think is on. She received 5th in Accounting Case Competition and 9th in Foundations of Economics. So we want to say congratulations to both of them. And then the only other recognition is Kim Brungart's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday. to
Happy
you.
birthday.
Happy birthday. So happy birthday.
Are you gonna finally be my age?
I'm turning
Ooh,
50.
50.
Yeah.
It's overrated.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I've been
wish I
around
could
the info
remember
years.
that.
Life
Yeah.
begins at 50.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yes, it does.
Okay, next we'll move to recognitions, and we do have several this evening. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment, and we do have several this evening. The general public is welcome to address the Board of Trustees under the public comment section of the regular board meeting agenda. Public comment should be germane to the business and activities of the Board of Trustees. The public is also welcome to address the Board of Trustees during the public comment portion of any special meeting agenda, but the public comment at a special meeting should be related to the agenda item of that special meeting. Personnel issues are prohibited from public comment. The board chairperson will ask visitors wishing to make brief comments to identify themselves and the topic they are wishing to address. If several members of one group or organization wish to speak to the board concerning the same item, the board chair may ask the group to identify a single spokesperson. A time limit of 5 minutes has been set for each recognized member or spokesperson of the audience to speak to the board. The board will take no action during the public comment period of the board meetings. However, it will take the matter under deliberation and, if appropriate, direct the president to follow up with a written response and report to the next regular board meeting. So our first individual is Caleb Harp.
Good afternoon. As some of you may know, my name is Caleb Harp, and I am the office coordinator for the Andover Academic Advising Office. I am here today to read an open letter that I sent to the members of the Board of Trustees on June 21st. This letter was sent so that the board could hear directly from the staff that openly signed the letter, but it was also written to help everyone who is employed at Butler. We have some of the most dedicated staff who not only love their jobs, but love the students and work hard to help them succeed in all they do. I know how important it is that every employee knows that they have a voice and have the chance to say the things that need to be said so that others can begin to understand where we're coming from. Many of us are struggling, and we want to make sure that you are aware of these struggles and that you have the power to help. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this with you today. I will now read the letter. Dear members of the Board of Trustees, we are writing to you today on behalf of the dedicated staff of Butler Community College to advocate for a much needed salary increase. We are requesting a raise of at least 6%, though we believe that an increase of 8 to 10% is necessary to effectively combat the pressing issue of inflation that is significantly impacting our lives. The staff at Butler Community College are the backbone of our institution. We are committed to providing the highest quality education and support to our students, often going above and beyond our job descriptions to ensure their success. Despite our unwavering dedication, we are struggling to keep pace with the rising cost of living. Inflation has eroded our purchasing power, making it increasingly difficult to meet basic needs and support our families. By granting us a meaningful raise, you have the opportunity to not only recognize our hard work and dedication, but also take a stand against the inequities perpetuated by inflation. According to livingwage.mit.edu, a living wage for a single person without children in the state of Kansas is $20.35 per hour. For one adult with one child, the needed wage increases to $34.03 per hour, and many of our staff make less than these amounts. A 6% raise is the bare minimum we need to begin addressing these challenges, but an increase of 8 to 10% would provide a more equitable and sustainable solution. This adjustment would not only help us cope with inflation, but also ensure that we are fairly compensated for our contributions to the college and our community. It would enable us to continue delivering high-quality education and support services without the added stress of financial instability. We understand that budgetary and financial planning are complex and challenging. The benefits package that we receive, while exemplary and greatly appreciated, does not help counter inflation and the rising cost of living. Investing in your staff is an investment in the future of Butler Community College. When we are adequately compensated and feel valued, we will have better longevity and less turnover, directly benefiting our stakeholders and the institution as a whole. In conclusion, we earnestly request that you consider our appeal for a raise of at least 6%, with a strong recommendation of an increase of 8 to 10%. This adjustment is not just a financial necessity. It is a step towards fairness, recognition, and commitment to the values that make Butler Community College a place of excellence and opportunity. Thank you for your time and consideration. We are hopeful that you take this request to heart and act in the best interest of your dedicated staff. While there may be less than 10 signatures on this letter, please do not assume that this means there were no other supporters. When asking employees if they wanted to openly sign onto the letter, the response I received most often was, "Caleb, while I agree with you about this need and want to support it openly, I am worried about rocking the boat. I worry about backlash from my supervisor and or HR." So there are many anonymous supporters of this letter as well, and we hope that our words showed you our dedication to Butler and help you better understand our needs. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Melanie McLemore. Did I say that right?
Hello, friends. My name is Melanie, and I'm the Director of Residence Life here. Since coming to Butler about 3 years ago, every year I try to pinpoint something to tackle to make our Residence Life program better. In the past, it's been updating policies and procedures, bringing in new housing software to better support our operations process, and changing how we train our resident assistants to ensure satisfaction from our residents. This year, our focus is student engagement. To kick off this academic year, Residence Life, in collaboration with student government, is hosting Sunday Fun Day. It will be the Sunday before classes start. This will give students an opportunity to meet different resources on campus, socialize, and participate in some fun activities. You can think of it as the college equivalent of an open house. This day will end with dinner on the basketball court by the Residence Life area at 4:30. Staff who are participating in Sunday Fun Day and faculty have been invited to get to know students who they may see around campus in a low-stress environment before they get in the classroom. I would like to extend an invitation as well to the Board of Trustees and Dr. Kroll to come out, meet some of our students, and enjoy dinner with us. This will be happening on August 18th at 4:30 p.m., and I would love to see everyone there and see the good work that we're doing with our students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David Sundgren.
Well, a lot of things have changed since I've been here. I was a trustee back about 100 years ago, and Kent Williams was here, and Bill Rinkenball was here, and Kelly's over here laughing, but she was here too. So yeah, anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank the trustees. I know what you do, your hard work, and you don't get a lot of thanks, and you guys are in charge of a very important institution. So I'd like to recognize you and thank you. I did bring some cards because I don't have the teleprompter I'm used to up here. And so I needed to make sure that I hit some points. First of all, I'm a taxpayer. I'm a real estate broker, so I'm well aware of what I think the tax consequences of a taxing entity like a city or the college are to our area and our community. So I know the implications of raising taxes. One of the things I want to talk about this evening is being revenue neutral. I've also some of the things that I have done here. I graduated from Butler. I've been on the faculty of Butler. I was on the foundation of Butler when we reached $2 million finally. And now we're at, I think 15 is what's endowed, $15 million. So that's a lot of investment by the community. We've been host parents. I was an ag advisory person. Being host parents has allowed me also to understand the importance of having people come to this college from out of the area. We've had students from Mexico. We've had students from Scotland. We've had students from Sweden and Canada, and what they add to the diversity of this student body, I think, is huge, and that's something I'm also going to address. Also, I think one of the important things, I've attended the graduations and the nurse pinnings and things of that nature, a lot of meetings. And the reason I bring that up is because of the importance of this institution. Being a community college, it's oftentimes the first place that people graduate. And it's a lot of families, it's the first college graduate from their family. And for those of you that have been to those events and heard the people yell and scream, and it's pretty cool to me. This institution has changed a lot of lives. It's changed my life, and it's changed a lot of others. The kids that we've had been host parents to and go back, they're going to remember Butler Community College for a long time. This last weekend, I had a friend who I graduated high school with, actually went all through grade school with, and he went to Butler, and then he graduated, and then he became an athletic director at Pratt Community College and finished his career the last 25 years at Cameron University in Oklahoma as their athletic director. And when we were visiting this weekend and catching up, because we hadn't seen each other but once or twice in 50 years, he talked to me about how the importance, he said, in all of education, I think the community colleges are the most important. And I think that's really says something coming from somebody that's even been at a university. So how does all that relate to the budget? What I would like to say tonight is be careful when you vote for being revenue neutral. And the reason I say that is you've got one of the biggest experts in budgets. I worked with him 100 years ago, or at least 90, and he will put together a budget. You heard about inflation, how it affects faculty. Am I up completely? Well,
Send his comments.
If you want to send the remainder of your comments, we can read them at the work session
Come back to the next meeting.
or come back to the next meeting. Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Share it. Mhm.
I was just enjoying you talking. We should have given you a warning.
I was real happy to be up there and not out there.
Okay, public comments quickly ends. Standing reports. Do we have a Student Government Association report this
I
month?
don't think so.
No. Okay, operational staff report, and Mr. Zach is here.
Good evening. So July 7th, operational staff enjoyed a day of recharge at Botanica Gardens in Wichita. So that was a good time for all of us to get together. So right now we're preparing for welcome back tables for the first 2 days back to school on the 19th and 20th. And our next meeting will be this Thursday at 3 o'clock here in El Dorado. Don't even know where I'm at. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next, professional employees report, Dr. Sater.
Shouldn't surprise anyone that there's not really much to report on as far as professional employees go in July. But this is my last meeting to speak to you as association president. And so I thought I'd talk about me. And I wrote it down. I was elected president of the association in 2010. I had not intended to run for such a position, but I was talked into it, and it was literally a case that of me being the last person out of the room. It was never my plan to stay in the position as long as I have, and I will need to take some time to reflect on all the circumstances of my long tenure. Wisdom demands both humility and truth. Humility demands that I confess to making a lot of mistakes over the years. Truth demands that I also declare a lot of success. I'll leave the details for when I write my memoirs. My approach to my duties as association president can be summarized in 3 basic bromides. First, always advocate for professional employees' rights, not their actions. Faculty and advisors are human beings, not just resources, and we make mistakes. Unfortunately, experience has demonstrated that there are always plenty of people lining up to criticize and punish when a mistake is made. The duty of the association president is to insist that our rights are secured and even enhanced. I'm proud of that advocacy, even when at times it may have alienated me from my employer. Second, sometimes you have to pound the table to be heard. Among the aforementioned mistakes is that I have sometimes been a bit too strident in my advocacy of the rights and privileges of professional employees. I doubt if I'll ever be nominated for a diplomacy award. But there has never been any question of where I stood on matters. And it is an unfortunate truth that few in power enjoy listening to those outside their own echo chamber. Third, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Over the years, I've been reminded of that truism. I have seen leaders that should have known better make decisions not because they were the right ones, but because they served their own interests and advantages. Indeed, having been in such close quarters for so many years, I have concluded that the one talent power develops is to justify the unjustifiable. I offer you a final observation. You can tell what a group, committee, or board values by who they have sitting at the table. I see a designated place for academic policies, human resources, student policies, IS, finance, and the foundation. I don't see a place at the table for those who represent the students, the staff, and the faculty. I've rarely seen these elected individuals consulted when decisions are made that affect them. Do you regard the students, staff, and faculty as important to the institution that you have been elected to steward? I hope so. I leave you now to execute your responsibilities, and I will see you in the funny papers, and hopefully nowhere else.
Okay, thank you. Board Finance Committee report. Mary Martha or Dave?
Can't. That was fast.
I think.
He updated it.
It's a little tough, we even get the update to the update.
Throw the other one away. He left a page out and then there was another error there.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. No, those are just for that table. Weren't any action.
Other one. You got it. Does anyone not have one that's sitting?
One of the new ones? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to share my screen.
Should be good now. I was passing out.
So at Finance Committee meeting, we talked about mostly how we ended up the year and looked a little bit at the numbers again for next year. So in the information that I gave you, I'd like to start on page 4. It says OB4. And this is a summary of where we ended up the 2024 fiscal year that just ended on June 30th. And so you can see that on revenues, we exceeded what we had estimated when we gave you the information on June 24th. We exceeded it by 172,000. And if you just go down to the next page, which I'll scroll through here, the student sources came in about $48,000 higher. And then any other revenue, every year we have an adjusting entry at the end of the year for what we call prior year claims canceled. So these are encumbrances that were made during the 2024 year that were not used in total. And so they get canceled. And instead of going back and decreasing the expenditure, it's added to revenue. Kind of a little strange thing that community colleges do. So we were pretty close out of a $53 million budget. Just before the end of the year, on the 24th, we estimated $172,000 less than we actually received. So going back then to the summary, and the expenditure information is shown on page OB6. It really has not changed from what we showed you on June 24th. The only thing that's really changed, because that's just the budget amount. So what we know is that on June 24th, we had estimated an unspent budget of 2.6 million. It actually came in at 2.736 million. So our expenditures were about $160,000 less than what we had estimated on June 24th. So overall, it makes a difference of about 331,000. These are, again, preliminary numbers, and they will change. I don't know if they'll change before you see the notice of public hearing, but by the time the audit comes around, they will change because there'll be some audit entries. There's always some encumbrances that aren't caught at year end and things like that. But this is real close to where we're ending up the year officially. What'll be in the audit, and so we're at about $9.1 million. We're about $3 million over the 10.5 expenditure at this time. Would also point out though on line 7, we, our expenditures exceeded our revenues by 1.4 million. So this is a trend that we're in right now where we're spending down our reserves, but we're still slightly above or somewhat above our stated 10.5 goal, 10.5% of expenditures. So that's where we ended up this year. Any questions or comments on that? Not, like to go back to page 1 here. This is again a summary of the FY25 budget, and this is based on the 1 mil increase that is the recommendation of the administration. I do need to tell you that there was a little faux pas on the information that I gave you. If you look back at what you received on June 24th, the FY25 numbers are different than this. It was actually a spreadsheet that I had done that to show what it would be if there was no mill levy increase. So there is obviously 1 mil increase in our recommendation, and that's what these numbers show here. On that June 24th presentation, we did show you a graphic of what would happen, where we were at based on assumptions for 3 years and what would happen if we took that mill away. Those 2 graphs were based on the 1 mil increase, but the front page or the page 1 was an error. So again, this is what we're recommending here based on 1 mil increase. Again, our tuition and fee revenue is based on no change in enrollment. We have some reason to be hopeful there, but we're not saying anything yet. It might jinx it. So the budget is based on no change in credit hours for 25 from 24. The state aid is, we know what that's going to be. So as far as our revenues, go down to the next page, and I'll put up on the screen here. You can see that we have a slight decrease in estimated revenues from what we ended up with this year. Part of that change is a $1 decrease for in-district students that was passed last March. Some of it is just the way the year end ends up. And on state sources, we know that there was a decline for our operating budget of about $600,000. And then in the local sources, the roughly $2 million that you see here, it's really made up of 3 things. About a 4.5% estimated valuation increase, the 1 mil increase, and then last year, our current taxes, the percentage received was lower, so we think some of that will come in as taxes in process next year. So I think we put in about an extra $300,000 in taxes in process for next year from the 24 taxes. So again, it's made up of about 3 things. And so going back to page 1, see that the overall recommendation for next year, and based on an unspent budget of 2.6 million on line 7, would still leave us with a deficit budget of about 760,000, but again would leave us in excess of our 10.5 target of unencumbered cash. So I know we'll probably get into the whether or not the 1 mil is a good recommendation or not when we take up the revenue neutral intent, which is an action item, which we'll get to later. But be happy to answer any questions. If not, just wanted to give you a summary of what the budget for last year ended up at, and just a reminder of where we're headed for next year, what we're recommending for next year. And that's pretty much what we talked about in Finance Committee.
So just to clarify, you're asking that you capture the 4.5% increase in taxes collected plus an additional mill.
Right, yeah. If we ask for a mill levy increase, then that's going to automatically mean that you're accepting the valuation. The only way you could not accept the valuation is if you lowered the mill levy rate. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, on line 12, just to clarify on OB1, the 6.1 million, is that is our target? Is what it should be?
That is the target that we've used for a number of years. So that's 10.5% of the expenditure budget. So we say we want that. What that goal means is that we want the unencumbered cash at year end to be at least 10.5% of the operating budget for that year.
So is that line 3? You said expenditure budget before.
Yes, line 3. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think we mentioned in Finance Committee that that's three months of salaries. Basically, that gives us, payroll. That's what all that covers, is about 3 months of payroll.
We do have savings and other.
We do have some, but over time, those HERF funds have been spent down. We had a significant balance of HERF funding, but that's been allocated and spent. We still have some in the deferred maintenance account that's allocated and spent. So we don't have the amount of cash that we had even a couple of years ago because those HERF funds have been used.
Just to clarify for Dr. Dusley, that's not all the money we have on hand at the end of the year, but that's
Correct.
unencumbered cash. Yeah, that's available, and we have a couple million above that.
This doesn't reflect like the student union or the designated.
And our investment in this.
Well, those investments are people fund balances.
Anyone else with questions? I guess no, none. So we'll move on to the Foundation Board report.
Nothing. The Foundation Board meets in August and it'll be after the Board of Trustees meeting. So we'll have an update in September.
Okay. Educational Facilities report, Dave.
They're working on I go by the stadium all the time. They're working on the stadium, getting the track completed. The football field will, I think, 30 days away with the turf and everything. That's correct. And they're making progress. And we have a meeting tomorrow at 8:00 at the city building. And I plan to be there.
Okay. So then scheduled presence report. Shelby, do you want to take a couple minutes to start out with?
It's not much. I was just going to remind, I'd made a request in May after fiddling around with the Forbes, and I had just requested kind of a breakdown on what out-of-state students versus in-state students generate versus costs, just to get an idea. So we might know what kind of revenue, if we get more revenue from in-state students versus out-of-state. I was also curious on faculty, how many of them teach a full load, and then there was a lot of release time in there, and I didn't know if that could be explained to me. So it's just kind of, I requested this. Dr. Pearl said they're going to send me some follow-up questions in May.
Well, yeah, I emailed folks last night to let you know that we were talking about it at VPs this morning. And if we had clarifying questions, I'd contact you. We talked about it this morning and we didn't have any clarifying questions that we needed answered, but we'll have some information for you at the July work session. So.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Dr. Cole.
I had, yeah, the turf and track work is being done, progressing. Sounds like they'll be a little bit delayed because of rain, possibly maybe about 10 days. I think the target date for completion was August 1st, and they're saying now August 10th probably, but things are progressing well. And so we'll get more and more updates. Ireland's doing a really good job of project management on our end for the college. And so we'll, it'll be kind of exciting when they start to lay down the turf and you actually get to, see it all kind of coming together. So that'll be fun. We're right in the middle this week of a number of interviews. We had our first interview yesterday for our VP of Digital Transformation, CIO position. Christina Byram was with us yesterday all day long in open forums and with interviews and tours of campus. We have 3 VP candidates, Vice President of Academics candidates coming tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. Dr. Rachel Bates will be here tomorrow. Dr. Barry Robinson from the state of Washington will be here on Thursday. And then Dr. Tony Wohlers will be here on Friday from Maryland. And then we have our final VP of Digital Transformation interview next Monday. James Tagliarini will be here from North Carolina. So hopefully next week we'll have, some more to update you on, but full days, busy days for those candidates because they're touring our campuses in Andover and El Dorado. They're having open forums with faculty and staff. They're meeting with direct reports, with deans, having lunch with exec council, interviews with the search committee. So it's a busy full day for our folks.
Do you spell James Tagliarini?
Tagliarini, Taglia. Tagliarini.
Let's have a buddy that teaches them.
And then our first negotiations meetings with faculty, July 17th, 9 to 11, I think, in the morning. And then July 19th, the second one is on the 19th in the afternoon. We kind of have the afternoon blocked out. And we'll share more information with you folks about some of our thoughts on negotiations. And then I wrote down the Sunday Fun Day. So we'll put that on the board calendar and then we'll send you reminders. It'd be fun to have you be able to be there and get to meet some of the students. So that's what I have. I'd answer questions if you've got some questions. Okay. Okay. Oh, can I say one more thing? Sorry. Sure. All related to searches. Just, I think you folks know, Gold Hill launched their application site. All the information's on their application site, July 1st. All of the information is on our website. The initial applications all go to Gold Hill and the application process is there. I know that Shelley has placed some physical ads. She talked to Dennis, I think yesterday, and it's placed some actual physical ads. And the blast email went out for the position. Dennis kind of indicated when we had visited with him that would go out to probably 6,000 folks. I actually got an email yesterday to apply for the Butler presidency. Yeah, just so you know. But
the blast work.
Yeah, the blast worked. But they're very busy because I also got a couple more emails today that came from Gold Hill for there are a couple of VP positions in other presidency. So they're busy folks and obviously do a great job. So just wanted to let you know. And I want to say publicly thank you to marketing. Kelly Cruz was really kind of the lead on all of development of all of the marketing materials and did a really fantastic job. I know she was sort of tired of me by the time we got done with all the little edits and, things like that, but it looks really, really good. So go out to the website, our website or the Gold Hill website. Our website has the pieces of all of that presidential search information divided up into sections, but it's great information. So it should give candidates a really good look at the college profile and some numbers, community profile, the qualifications that you folks set. And, you know, and then they can obviously search the website and get more information. Anyway, kudos to marketing and Kelly Cruz. You gave her vacation days, didn't you, afterwards? Okay. That's what I have.
I
Thanks.
had a question. I've had a couple of people ask me about the screening committee. Is there a certain time where that'll be announced who's?
Yes, and I'll get a overview ready for them
Okay.
On timeline and so forth.
I just had a couple of people ask me, like, I don't know what to tell you when, but sometime soon.
Yeah, soon.
Okay.
Soon. Okay, monitoring reports, science, engineering, and math. Dr. Shannon,
Actually, not a doctor.
you're no doctor. Someplace I looked.
But I have stayed at a Holiday Inn.
Did you stay at Holiday Inn?
More than once. I think I just take questions, right? Hard ones, easy ones. We always assume that you have read the monitoring report and.
I've got a couple, I guess. We're
Questions?
going right to it.
All right,
On recruitment on page 6, it says we're going to increase, or first of all, for the 23-24, are these the numbers from 23-24 that we're looking at on page 7? Just so don't ask us stupid questions.
well, so I wish I had printed, I don't know what page 7 is.
It's just the
Thank
years
you.
19 through 23,
So are these what we have for our,
right? So would this be the results after what you were working on in the 23-24 on page 6?
yes.
So
So
this-
AY 2023, I believe is summer, spring, it ended fall 2023 or no? Esam, correct me,
AY 2023 ended in spring.
spring
That's the
23.
last full academic year we have had.
So summer,
that
fall,
wouldn't-
spring.
So this wouldn't be the data from, because it said.
This is not current. This is a retroactive look at what's happened in the, over the last year.
So I was just curious on page 6 at the top, you want to increase in recruitment efforts, increase retention efforts. Did the efforts produce results? Did we recruit more and retain more? Because I don't think we don't have that data on. I'm just curious how it went.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, if you look at the data on the next page, declared majors, we didn't, so. And no, we tried our efforts, although, some areas went up for a little bit. They might go up one semester and then go down another
I saw
semester.
STEM orphan went up a bit, but what's STEM orphan?
All the hard questions have to go to Gibson. Yes. Yeah, orphans, to me multiple times, the orphan question came up last
I
year
think it
too.
did. I don't remember what it was.
It's a fair question. These are declared majors who are in the STEM area, but they're not affiliated with the department. And because I'm not the most imaginative guy, I figured in.
That's right, that was the answer.
Yeah. Orphan was a good answer.
You know,
They're not orphan.
I remember now.
I will say that we oversee programs that we don't have credit for because they're not tied to our department.
Yeah.
So like, we don't get credit for pre-vet, pre-med. I mean, those all go to actually Janet's area. So there are a lot of programs that we support and so we do see an increase in some of those areas, but it doesn't show here because we don't get credit for that. That goes to another area for credit.
Like the Newsies engineers.
We get engineers. We just don't get a lot of the science programs like the pre-vet, like a lot of them that we oversee. But there's some new ones too, like the ag ones. We've added food science. We won't get those. Those will go to ag. But if you look at under the science area, pre-med, pre-vet, pre-farm, pre-physician assistant, and I put pre-vet in there twice for whatever reason, they all go to HEP, and then the food science degrees will also end up going to, they'll go to CTE moving forward. So.
And I saw on page 16 that the faculty adjunct and full-time are involved with tutoring the math, which my kids have used the heck out of that. I had one that's math doesn't click with them, and I appreciate you guys, all you do on tutoring.
Yeah, that math lab is busy. You know, last Friday I was here and I thought no one would be here. And the math lab here had like 6 students in it. So they must be giving a test this week people were dedicated to be there. So yeah, it's a great resource and we appreciate the support that we get and we've received for those positions.
I did have one question on that. I think I've asked it before, and I'm not remembering, but you have like students, visits, and hours. So the students are, it seems like it turns out to be like 14 hours per student, but only 2 minutes per visit. I just didn't know how that breaks down. I think I've asked him before and I forgot.
Well, they don't ever spend 2 minutes in there. So, I think some people will spend maybe 30 minutes is probably about the shortest amount of time they've ever spent in there. So, and there are some of them where we don't know, there is a tutor tracking software. They're supposed to log in with their ID, and then log out with their ID. If they don't do that, we also have a paper system. And so our professional tutors will go back and try to see if someone forgot to clock out or clock in. And so if they haven't done that, there's a lot of those that are just kind of open-ended. There's not really an end to it. And so I don't know. I haven't looked at that report for a long time to see, what the average is per person, but
Well, it's just like there's 400 students for 2,800 visits. That's a lot of visits. Oh, I guess it's hours.
yeah, it's hours.
I was doing minutes. That makes a lot more sense.
I can't believe I can't believe
Yeah.
out of 2 or 3 minutes, but I
Right.
didn't do the math.
That's on me.
So,
And if you could explain the K-board thing, I know because my son just did the 14-step algebra, whatever it is, the 4-stage.
right.
It's getting neck down to 1.
Well, that's a very complicated process.
Yeah.
So, the new process with Math Pathways is kind of threefold. So one of them is that instead of predominantly everybody having to take college algebra, if they've got an associate of art or associate of science, they're now going to have 3 choices. The state right now is working on trying to figure out what those 3 choices will be. They're going to determine for each program what that's going to be. It's not something that institutionally we'll be able to set up. But there will be a pathway for college algebra, which is really STEM related. Students that probably will go on to take calculus and above. There'll be what's called contemporary math, quantitative reasoning, depending on where you're at. And that's more for liberal arts majors and people who are not necessarily in any kind of a STEM field. And then they'll have a stats pathway for people who need to take more statistics. So, so that's one of the changes that's coming. So we'll have the 3 different pathways. We've got groups working on those. We already offer all of those courses. They've been on our books for a while, but they're just not the degree requirement for a lot of our pathways. So I think the state's already determined education's going to have the contemporary math, quantitative reasoning, I think. But I think that's the only one that they've really made a decision on so far. So that's one piece of what's happening with KBOR. And then the other piece that's happening with that is that they're standardizing some of the placement into each one of those pathways. We're still able to do homegrown tests, but they're going to set ACT scores, SAT scores, AccuPlacer, multiple measures. They'll set it for each of those groupings, each of the pathways. And then the other thing is they are requiring us to do what's called co-requisite math, so that students should be able to get through in 1 semester. So if they don't hit the score to get into the regular class, then they go to the co-requisite class. The challenge is that if they do a lower score, they still may end up with taking 12 hours, because if what they do at other institutions, if they don't make it into the college algebra track and they want to be a STEM major, then they have to take quantitative reasoning as a co-requisite, which was 6 hours. And then they go to the other co-requisite math with college algebra, which is another 6 hours, which is 12, which is what our current students do.
Talk a little bit about what co-requisite means.
It means taking, well, depends.
So just in general, just sort of in general.
Dr. Crow, we didn't hear what you said.
I asked Shannon to explain what co-requisite kind of means.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's lots of different interpretations, but the way we're going to probably take co-requisites is that you're going to be able to take all of the classes in 1 semester, whether that's a first 8 week and a second 8 week, or what we do with our modules where maybe they're taking a couple of classes together at the same time to get them ready. Our co-requisite model for English is ALP, and with ALP, they take the 2 classes together and they scaffold it. So they take the Comp 1 class and then they take the class below it. Has the same instructor. And so there are lots of models. I mean, even supplemental instruction where you have a student that's asked to be, I might ask Christina to be a person in the classroom helping our students. That could be considered a co-requisite model. They've even said that you could have a co-requisite model by having required tutoring. those are not things we're going to do. We're looking more at either taking two classes together at the same time if they're not quite ready and trying to scaffold that learning, or giving them some shorter term classes at the beginning to get the chunks that they need, and then being able to take the college level class after that. So
Did have one follow-up.
you have what?
One follow-up question
Okay.
on that page 16, about 2/3 down. It says implementing co-requisites provides challenges, reduces the time and credit load we're able to require. So does, but beforehand, it seemed like there was 3 or 4 classes they would take for X number of credit hours. It seems like it's now it might be fewer hours they have to take.
It should be. In theory, it should be. The only thing is that we're still not going to have people who are ready for that co-requisite class. And so our concern as a math department and as a college is, what do we do with those students who aren't ready? And, you know, at the state level, they're asking sometimes to say, well, just make them go to adult ed. We can't make a student go to adult ed. So that's one of our concerns at the math department area. And then the other real concern is, what do we do with a student who can only take one class? You know, so what they're saying is we can't offer any standalone classes to have a student get ready for whatever college level math class they take. What are we going to do if I come in here and I say I can only take one class? That student's never going to get through anything because they're never going to get through math, or they're never going to get through English because they can't take that co-requisite model. So, you know, I think what we've done already with our math modules has decreased a lot of students' time to completion, because we let them skip some things. If they already know it and they've proven that to us, then we don't make them do that again. We're looking at data. The state said they would consider some standalone classes if we have some data, because one of our instructors, Bethany Chandler, is on one of those groups. So we're going to look at some of the data that we have for the modules and possibly show that to them. You know, the other big thing is that most of the data that, if you look at the state's reports and what they're sharing with you, the data that shows that co-requisites work, it's not college algebra. So those students are already doing something that we would have loved to have done in our department a long time ago, and saying not everybody has to take college algebra, but the state wasn't ready for that. So those students that you see, if you look at the state reports where they show great success rates with co-requisite models, it's because they're taking contemporary math or a different class. But, you know, we'll do whatever we can to make it work, however we need to make it work. They're working hard. They're representing committees at the state level and trying to make sure that our voices are heard. You know, and the other thing is, in community college, we don't just offer AAs and ASs. So we still have like tech math for some of our CTE programs and some of those other classes. And those classes are still going to probably need a little bit of support. So we're trying to figure out from the state what we do with all of those students who aren't just here to get an AA or an AS. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think my only concern was, I think math, just looking at it's like 12 or 13% of our total credit hours. And if they're not required to take as much math, that could have an impact.
Oh, it will.
Overall.
You know, and that's one of the things when we did the math redesign, we told everybody math credit hours are going to go down. That's our goal. Our goal is not necessarily to make students take more math. I mean, we want students to take math. We want students to be prepared to be successful in math. And I'll say every day, all day, that my goal, I want to increase enrollment, but my biggest concern is student success. So I want to know that when that student's taking that class, that they're as prepared as they can be to be successful in that class. So that's always my goal first and foremost. And so we have seen a decline in our enrollment, but we knew that would happen with the math modules when we did that, because we weren't making them take a class that they didn't need everything in. And it will happen, I think, with this other implementation of the pathways. But I also hope that some students who have sat around and waited and don't get their degree because of math will be a little bit more encouraged, because they don't have to take college algebra. You know, they have a choice that is a better option for them than college algebra. I mean, I'm a math teacher, but not everybody needs to take college algebra.
Benefited my son in culinary, and he had to take algebra, failed, and then the new version of algebra, and finally passed it by the skin of his teeth, and it's like, new algebra. If this other idea would work well.
Yeah. I mean, and our math department is excited about the whole idea of pathways. We're a little concerned about co-requisites, but again, if that's what the state says we have to do, then that's what we have to do. So
Thank you. Sorry to monopolize.
that's okay. It's better than just standing up here.
Anything else? Okay, quarterly core reports. Dr. Kroll.
Oh, it's in your book. I don't know that you have any questions about it necessarily, but it's something that we do on a quarterly basis. So
I'd just like to know why they were declined.
One of them was a request for the names of campus and department of all employees.
That's a first.
We told them we could do it, but they would have to pay us, maybe
Paid in.
Yeah.
find to pay us.
And the other one was the purchase orders for housing software, student information systems, contacts, all that sort of stuff. They're looking for housing software. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, board self-evaluation, you'll see starting on page 22 and then 23, 24 is the 25, 26 is the evaluation that we've done in the past. If you don't
I
have,
don't think this one.
so if you don't have changes, we'll move on. If you do, then we should discuss what.
I don't think this is what we've done in the past.
Well, it looks different because because Bryony has turned it into a Qualtrics
Right, well, I've got
survey, but I,
2021, I couldn't find the other ones in 22 and 23, but.
well, I had Jennifer, I had Jennifer compare what the evaluation you did last year with the Word document that we sent to Bryony to make sure, and
Okay.
this is what she put in the board book. So we'll go back and look at it just to make sure, but I had the evaluation from last year and had her compare
Well, I know
that.
this
So
is, it seems to me that it's changed. The only thing that bothers me, which always bothers me, is the diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI part of it. I mean,
Where are you?
page
It's on page
25.
25 is top.
And most Fortune 500 companies or what, the biggest people get laid off for all their DEI specialist hires. And it says, I mean, Title VII Civil Rights Act prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. And this says board reviews disaggregated student success, blah, 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 and it goes through it and it says it ensures multiple strategies are strategically and intentionally in place to strengthen efforts to address any gaps. We're addressing gaps of race, sex, gender, age, and like, I don't know why we need to specifically address someone's skin color or sex or any other item. It's just, let's not discriminate anyone against anyone for any reason, period. And be done with it. This just rubbed me the wrong way. I have to say that every time.
I think you can revise this to still essentially say that the board supports equal access for students and supports opportunities for student success.
Non-discriminatory policy.
Well, we have
Right, I
have
mean, I just
harassment,
like to rewrite
non-discrimination.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna use DEI measures to.
You can rewrite it if you want to, but I think it's
Could
really
you do that,
important for
Shelby?
the board.
Bring it to the work
I think it's
session.
important for the board to have some sort of focus on equal access for students and equal opportunity and support for their student success. And still with a focus on, underrepresented populations can represent first generation learners, can be everything from first generation learners to single parents to students of color, if you want to. So it can mean a lot of different things, but it's part of this college's mission to be open access. And it's part of our strategic plan to be equitable and provide open, opportunities and support for students. So
Sure.
if that needs to be rewritten, you can rewrite it, but I think it's really important for the board to still have a focus somehow on student support and access.
Well, absolutely. I just don't think we need to be shoehorned into diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, we weren't 3 years ago. And it's kind of causing more harm than good in some institutions. And here we are in 2024 saying we gotta support DEI as a board and kind of regulate people that come in with DEI.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just not discriminate on any basis.
I don't read 39 as talking about DEI the way you're talking about it. I mean, that's a divisive term. And
No, I
because of what
get it.
people-
That's,
This is talking about student success. And
Yeah.
if we find out that there's a group at the college, whether it's by minority or by first generation or by low income students, whatever it is, that's having problems and they're not getting the same success that our other students are getting, we should want to know that. And we should want to be able to figure out what's unique about that group that's causing their success at the college to not be the same as everybody else's. It's not about quotas or, you talk about Title VII, that's an employment statute. This isn't about hiring someone based on their color just to say we have more colored employees than what we had before. This is focusing on our core of student success, at least 39. Now, I'm not an advocate for
but
DEI. I
groups
think it goes too
come
far
here,
sometimes.
individuals come here and we can look at the data, but I mean, a blanket, fix for a group quote unquote, is not addressing the individual that's coming here. I just think it's better to have no discrimination of any kind, period, regardless of sex, age,
This
I
is
mean, anything. No, I
Yeah,
get it.
this isn't talking about discrimination. This is talking
But
about.
it's talking about,
If there is a common theme in lack of student success among a certain population, we should want to know that. Now, you can argue about what the fix might be or what the root cause is, but we should want to know there is a group of students that is not succeeding when they come to Butler. And that should cause us to probe and figure out why that's the case. That's how I read 39. I don't see it in the same negative DEI light as what you're
I
describing.
just read it. We're gonna, we ensure multiple strategies strategically and intentionally in place to strengthen efforts to address any gaps.
Right, those gaps being the services that we provide students. So the odds that a first generation student that walks through our door encounters any sort of issue because they don't understand how college works, because they haven't had anyone in their family that has gone through it. The odds that another first gen student that walks through our door encounters the same issue is extremely likely. So this is about addressing gaps in the access and what we give our students, the service that we provide our students. Has nothing to do with discrimination in any way. The essential to the mission of what we do at this college is we open our door to everyone that walks in and we give them the opportunity to change their life, right?
Right.
So by trying to meet that need, we have to understand the population that we serve and recognize that it's going to be a really diverse population because we are open access. So being able to do that, do this work, allows us to meet students where they are in the groups that they gather with, right? It has nothing to do with discrimination in any way.
I think maybe just the compromise, I feel like everybody's kind of saying the same thing, but coming at it in different ways. And even like Forrest said, that the DEI connotation can be taken out of context. It can reach too far. So maybe just change the wording so that it doesn't look like it's focusing just on that acronym would be helpful.
Yeah, because I mean, we could lump men or in general are just done with college compared to women. I mean, it's drastically decreasing. How do you address men as a group? I mean, it's not a group, but how do you make it more interesting to them? The construction and all the rest of it, sure. But I just take umbrage with DEI specifically. It's the goal of it. I just
So
think
kind of changing
it's
the
been
title.
taken- It's been taken.
It's essentially the title.
I was gonna say, are we
The
changing
DEI
the
title is where you're hung up, and that, yeah, I get that. But the example you just gave is gender.
No, I understand, but I'm not discriminating against men or women. I'm just saying there is a gender gap. So how do you address it? But I'm not saying color, skin, gender. I mean, you can address it, but we're not playing favorites. But
Yeah.
I don't need the DEI. I mean, you're in a mostly conservative community. And just slapping DEI on everything doesn't increase our enrollment or the goodwill towards the college overall. So I mean, eliminating that, just say non-discriminatory, whatever. Because I don't think any of us care, discriminate against anyone for any reason. It's just,
Yeah, I would say, go back to, it's not about discrimination, it's about access. So if you change the title.
I was gonna say, all right, so
What about
we have-
student acts?
Yeah.
Uh,
We're hung up on a title when the actual work that's being done, evaluating on.
specifically, I brought it up, but
Yeah.
3 years ago, we didn't need DEI slapped on us, and now that is waning, it's like, we're gonna put it on now. It's like, that's not gonna be helpful. So,
Okay, we'll have a change in the title. If you want to propose one, Shelby, fine. If not, we'll get one and have you look at it at the
Like
work
student
session.
success or student
access or something.
access, student.
We have a student success title already, so we can come up with some other suggestions if you want us to.
And when do we think this survey will go out? Just right after the work session, or do you want it before then?
Whenever you tell us. Well, if you want to change the title at the work session and talk about it, then we're not going to send it out ahead of that, but.
So after.
We would, as soon as you guys decide on the title change, we can send it to Bryony. She can set it up as a Qualtrics survey,
Okay.
probably, and we can get it turned around within a day or two and get it out to you. It doesn't usually take her very long. And especially if you don't change, she's already got the questions from last year. So if the changes are really minor, it won't take her very long at all to get it out.
Anything else on that? If not, we'll go on to the Nursing Simulation Center collaboration on page 27.
I think Janet's going to talk about that a little bit. And I think I sent you some information by email about it. And Janet will give an overview and be able to answer some of your questions. Some of them she may not be able to, but
I will do my best.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening and considering this. In essence, as you know, we started a satellite program last fall and have enjoyed great success with that. We're very excited. We're starting to get more and more interest in students actually starting their program there. So as I've indicated in the report, we're almost doubling the interest. And so we are being able to maintain the number of students that we have there. So it's been a great success. But germane to this actual discussion is way back in December of 2022, a representative from William Newton Hospital came and said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we kind of work together to build a simulation center? And the idea and her analogy that she continues to bring up is like the story of stone soup. If everybody brings a little bit, then what we have at the outcome is something that's very positive for everybody. So we have been in the process. Our key partners would be Cali College, Butler, William Newton Hospital themselves, as well as Southwestern College, who is in the initial stages of restarting their nursing program. So we've been in discussion off and on. We meet about every couple of months as things go. And so now it's just at a point to kind of get a feel and a sense of approval as to whether or not this is a direction that Butler wants to pursue. So we have spent a lot of time. William Newton Hospital has been very generous in working with us to provide space and whatever support is needed. But they, just like all of us, are very strapped financially. So then we also went to our foundations. So each of the entities foundations, again, very much see that there's community support for something like this, and that there certainly private dollars or private donations might be applicable, but this type of adventure is also very grant supported. It meets a lot of the criteria for grant funding. It's collaborative, it's rural, it meets rural education and rural healthcare needs, et cetera. So with that, we continued on, and we've gradually been trying to kind of ascertain, well, what do you have to bring? What do you have to bring? What's left? What's needed? And that kind of stuff. And I've kind of laid out initial things that each of the partners are willing to bring to this project. And as we've identified in the report, the nursing department already has purchased, because as part of our nursing curriculum, we have to, because it's part of our accreditation standard. If we are providing simulation experiences here in El Dorado, we also need to provide simulation experiences to our students in Winfield. So we've already purchased equipment that is grant funded primarily. And so we have a lot to bring to the table and a lot to offer. And we would certainly benefit from that. So I think that is a brief summary overview. And I don't know if you have questions or thoughts.
Has that been emailed to us? I think I missed that. Was there a proposal?
Didn't I email you? What?
It was
It was an
Okay.
attachment on the overview. Yeah, when I sent it.
Janet, if we're doing simulations right now for the Winfield students. How is that going to change with our support for this space?
So currently we have to require the students from Winfield to drive to El Dorado to participate in the simulations, because we currently do not have the infrastructure at the Cowley College to do it the way we do it here. And also last year, we were finishing purchasing the mannequins and such to be able to do that. So, and as we progress through the semesters, the simulations become higher fidelity, harder to do, et cetera. So that's why we've been bringing them here. But I think the desire for everybody is that students, if they're going to Winfield and that's the satellite campus, then that's where they want to be. And that's where we want to try and maintain them, but in a cost-effective model.
How often do they, I'm sure it varies by, what semester they're in the program, but
Mhm.
ballpark, how often are they having to drive up to El Dorado for those?
Each semester is different, and currently, in first semester, it's about 2 to 3 times every semester. So, when you think about that, and you break it down, it can seem very cost prohibitive for a small number of students and a small number of times. But the benefit is so important. It's evidence-based. When we also look at our clinical opportunities in a rural setting, some of those clinical opportunities and the experiences that they get are not the same. And so by being able to provide them with a high fidelity simulation opportunity, we're trying to make up the gap there. We're trying to make sure that they still walk away with the information and the knowledge and the experience and the confidence that they need to be successful. So, having said that, again, but that also speaks to the point of, by doing this, we need to do it as economically and be good stewards of the funds that we have, and do it in such a way that it meets everybody's needs.
Thank you.
I think part of the key, at least from our perspective, as we talk about this, is that we already have the simulation software. We have the licensing, we have the simulation mannequins, because they've been purchased in the past with grant dollars. And so the opportunity to be in that space, which is hospital-based with other partners, is really kind of a win-win for our students. And there'll be potentially a little bit of annual outlay to help with utilities and those kinds of things. Not significant, but
not for utilities. That's my understanding from utilities. The outlay will be what we already have budgeted as part of the program, in that it's consumable supplies.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Consumable supplies and the maintenance of equipment and computers and that kind of stuff. So those are just part of the daily operating budget as it stands now. To clarify, as you remember, when you approved the vault, we went with the number of licenses that would include Winfield. And the company has agreed to honor that. And we've gone through some different things. But we didn't pay for the equipment that is needed to be installed in order to use the licenses. And so, and we've talked about things that have yet to be purchased, and those need to be determined. That's one example of additional costs that have yet to be kind of determined who pays for that. So, and those would be different. So those would be a different conversation and a different MOU. This is really what we would like is the board support to just continue to a potential venture like this. So.
I think personally, from me, I think it sounds like a great idea, only because number one, people learn better in that hospital setting. Mm-hmm. And it provides a real life setting for them to go through that simulation, and then to take that
right
to a practicum level,
right,
just down the hall. The other thing that I thought was cool was you're getting help from Cali, help from Southwestern, help from the hospital in the room. I think that most of the modifications were paid by somebody else.
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
And I do know that from the meeting, the KACCT meeting that I attended, that breakfast when when different colleges got up and started talking about the collaborative effort that they're using with other community colleges, with four-year colleges, it made a difference. And I think it would help us if we ever wanted to grow that program down there. And if we eventually would want to send some of our students and have them get their BSN from Southwestern,
Right,
that
creating-
could be an opportunity too.
Creating partnerships and
Right.
collaborations,
Right.
absolutely. And the benefit of having a simulation center that's really on site with the hospital, it are little things like we don't have to purchase a wheelchair because we can probably borrow a wheelchair for the one or two simulations that we have during the semester. So, and we don't have to potentially, I have my fingers crossed that we don't have to purchase a ventilator because hopefully they don't have all of their ventilators in use the day we do a simulation, and we can purchase that. And that's a savings, that's a significant savings of about $30,000. So it's the little things, it's the big things, it's being able to use resources from the hospital that aren't just equipment, but also personnel. So working with paramedics and EMTs to facilitate the transfer of a mannequin from point A to point B, it provides a richer opportunity of learning for the students as well. So.
Other
Thanks,
questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have our board action items, page 28, the notice of intent to exceed revenue neutral rate. I think Kent, do you have some comments on that or not?
Yeah. Let up here. Yeah, so I've got this up on the screen here. We've talked about this quite a bit. In order to have a mill levy, anything greater than 11.67, which is the R&R determined by the county clerk and sent to us, we need to pass this intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Our proposed budget is based on a 1 mil increase from last year's 12.269. Again, that 1 mil will bring in about $1,085,000 to our budget. So from the numbers that I showed you earlier on the proposed FY25 budget, if you were not to pass the revenue neutral intent, it would basically take $1.7 million out of the revenues that we're showing or that we're planning on having for next year to fund our expenditure budget. So I would turn it over, see if there are any questions, and turn it over to you.
Let's do my normal spiel. I mean, as the mill levy talk's confusing to everyone, including me, and we levy the taxes, total dollars levied on all the county residents. Currently, it's 12.269 million. College is asking us to raise or levy additional 1 million plus you're wanting the 4.5% value increase, so like 1.7 million.
Yeah.
So you want to levy another $1.7 million in taxes on the residents. Mill levy talk this or that. If you want to increase taxes, 1.7 million.
We could also look at how much we've given back to the taxpayers. 4 years ago, we were at 20 mills. Now we're at a little over 12 mills. We're just asking for 1 mill back to maintain the college.
What is the valuation for the county houses change though in that amount of time? I mean, I know the mills have gone down, but the valuation of the properties have gone up by how much in that same amount of time?
700 million to 1.1 billion.
Exactly.
But we also didn't take the valuation increase every year.
Right. If all we did this year was take the valuation increase, what would the revenue, what revenue would that generate for the college if we didn't raise the extra mill?
If you left the mill rate at 12.269, it would, see, it's a 4 mil increase. I think about 600,000 to 700,000.
So there would still be a million shortage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I struggle with the whole thing because our enrollment has been flat and declining for a while. But I also acknowledge that, you know, everybody keeps talking about inflation, and this budget only shows a 3% wage increase, and we got started by starting the meeting off with them asking for 6 and hoping for 8 to 10. It's like everyone around in society in general is struggling because you order the same groceries that you did 2 or 3 years ago and they're double. So what I'm seeing on the real estate side of things is, and it may just be because it's an election year, and it may be because prices have just finally gotten to where they're just, people are kind of freaking out, but our inventory per MLS data this last month has gone up by 44% in both Sedgwick and Butler County in a 1 month time. So we've been in a buyer's market for a long time, and we're 1 month away from it shifting to be a seller's market. And that is the trend, I think, that's going to happen after being in this for 25 years and knowing how volatile everything is right now. So I kind of see it as, yeah, it's the budget's tight. We need to cut corners, but everybody does. I don't know. I just feel like there would still be, it'd be different if we were growing, then there would be the reason to ask for more money, but that's not what I'm seeing. And, you know, if I think every household in this area is having to tighten up, and we're just, not only we're not tightening up, we want to go grab, I mean, going from 12 point whatever million and adding 1.7, that's a huge percentage increase in taxes levied in a single year. And I get that we haven't raised it in several years, and I applaud that. And I don't necessarily think, I mean, maybe it is time to go ahead and catch us up and just leave the mills flat and gain that $700,000, which is something I never even thought I would vote for. But doing that and raising at a mill is something I can't support. I could potentially get behind just leaving the mill where it's at and capturing the additional valuation. But that'd be the most I would want to support.
I think to clarify, to make it easy on everybody, if you're going to raise it any amount at all, you need to vote yes on this.
Right.
Because it allows you to look, I'm gonna vote no, because
Just out of principle.
but I mean, my intentions with all the Forbes data, all the consolidation, this, that. Personally, I think we've lost 30% of our students, our income. Our budget's increased every year. At some point, I would like to see spending cuts. I think just bringing more money. I mean, even last year, we made an initial couple of £100, and after raising tuition a little bit, I think it netted us okay. But just having more money on hand, like for the road for Andover last year, what's ETA for the road being? I mean, we didn't have to spend 300 grand extra above. I mean, and then $200,000 workout equipment. I think if we're flushing funds, we'll find something. I don't think it's the time to spend extra money. I personally think if we could consolidate some of our payroll, I think it'd be easier to give nice raises. And we have so many janitorial staff and people that are way below the living wage of $20.38 or whatever. I suppose. I mean, that would allow us to do some of that too. But I've said this for 5 years now.
But we have made some budget cuts. In our 2024 budget, in the mid-year update, we cut $900,000 out of that, and then we reduced that budget another $400,000 for the FY24. budget cuts, and most of those are from payroll. There were a few additions, but those cuts were made. You know, Shelby, you sound like we can just lower the taxes and give more raises because that'd be a great thing. But, you know, we go through a process. Our senior administration goes through a process where we look at all the things that need to be done to maintain the quality and the identity of this college. It's just not that easy to say, well, you can go out and cut this or cut that. You know, it's not like we are not looking at those things.
I just think if the board forced it upon you, it would happen. I mean, it's not fun. I mean, but all sorts of businesses do have to cut.
Well, it would be a different looking college. I can tell you that.
Well, I understand we've got the second highest number of buildings in the Jayhawk conference, and now
So you want us
our
to,
insurance is insane. We don't need all the buildings because they're at 60% capacity. There is some stuff that we could do to weather the storm and then grow if it's time to grow, or the trend continues, I think we'll be in a bind. So, but we've had this.
Okay, comments, Mary Martha?
No, I was ready to make a motion.
Okay, Forrest, do you have comments? Or you want to make them after a motion?
Oh, we can do it. If you want to get the motion on the floor, I can do it afterwards. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the notice of revenue neutral rate intent as presented to exceed the revenue neutral rate with a proposed rate of 13.269 mils, with the revenue neutral rate hearing to be held in the Welcome Center in El Dorado on September 10th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
So what we've been, I mean, you say success, we're sort of victims of our success. For the last 4 years, we have been able to essentially cut the budget, and we've had a tremendous amount of unencumbered cash that gave us the flexibility to do that. We don't have that tremendous amount of unencumbered cash. And I mean, the chart that Kent showed us at the work session, you can see where this line is headed. And even with a 1 mil increase, we're running a deficit budget of what, 800,000? And Shelby, what you're proposing, or even, I mean, if all we did was accept the valuation increase, that $800,000 deficit goes to what, 1.5 million? So we're
on a path of
we are
non-sustainability.
absolutely on a path. And if we don't do it this year, then we're in the same position. We're in a worse position than next year because all our expenses are continuing to go up. Even with a 3% raise, which is what's proposed, I mean, everything is going to cost more next year than what it's costing us this year. And if we don't start to try to get ahead of what we've done the last 4 years by saving the taxpayers' money, and I applaud that. I voted for that. I'm not trying to get away from it, but we're not in the same position now as we were before when we had government money thrust down our throat. And you could afford to make some of the fiscal decisions we made because we had enough of a cushion that running a $2 million deficit budget didn't matter. We're not in that position now. And we've never been close to that 10.5% number in the 5 years that I've been on the board. What you're proposing is going to put us really close to that number next year. And I can't support that. I don't like the idea of raising taxes. I truly don't. But I think where we are right now, I think a 2 mil increase is what was initially proposed a couple of months ago. And that, was a lead balloon amongst the 7 of us. And I think administration recognized that, and they read the room, and they've come back with a 1 mil increase instead. I think I support that as a reasonable balance for where we are right now.
At what point do we just raise tuition if our product is believed to be superior, then you charge more, and then let the public speak on whether or not it's worth that. And if it's not, then you change your expenses by way of staff. I mean, there's more than one way to fix a budget. It's not, this is the only line item that's on that graph. And that's the problem that I have with that graph is that, oh, if we don't raise taxes, we're doomed. Well, you're right. If nothing else changes, there's like a million other factors that could change. but
But as a board, we have to control our spending as well, because like buying the Redler building for $750,000 when we could have leased it for $2,700 a month and had all of our investment at the end of 10 years plus, had we invested that money. That was unnecessarily the $300,000 for the road. We're at $1 million just on two things. I mean, tonight we had a proposal for, was it 40-some thousand dollars worth of furniture?
We took that off the agenda.
But it was still presented to us. I mean, it's spend, 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 spend. It's like, we're not at I mean, we need to do not just raise taxes, but also cut expenses, cut spending.
I think that somewhat devalues the work that administration has done every year in the budget to try to cut expenses. The road at Andover was not as straightforward as what you're talking about. There were legal issues that Ray
said
talked
we
us
were not
about.
legally obliged to pay it.
I
Period.
know, but Shelby, that was something that we needed to do.
We made that agreement.
Right.
We made that agreement over a 2-year time
We
frame
made an
so that
agreement to a 1 point.
we made that agreement over a 2-year time frame. It took us 2 years to negotiate that, and we had to come to some sort of an agreement on road development so we could get the building permit to get into the 5,000 building. And it was important for us to honor that agreement.
You could have told your partner, haha, it's on you, not me. That is exactly what you're suggesting we should have done.
I think we just spent it before the election to get it done, depending on how the election went. That way Andover got their money. I don't think Andover needs El Dorado's money. But neither here nor there, we already spent it.
We bought a $6 million asset for $750,000. I don't know how you can.
It's not $6 million building, but I get
It is.
Okay.
It was valued at $6 million.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I have a different,
building. Let's not argue. It's an amazing facility.
maybe I have a little bit different viewpoint, but I view this, the money that we're asking the taxpayers. Number one, we do provide a service to our taxpayers and their dependents here at the college. We give them an opportunity to better their lives. We offer a great return of investment on the dollars that people spend in this community or in the Andover community or Rose Hill community, wherever they take classes. I look at this as not an expense, but an investment in students, an investment in teachers. We still haven't thought about anything about the maintenance of the buildings, that a lot have been done through HERF funds. And that, if we wouldn't have gotten those HERF funds, we would have 60, 70-year-old buildings that would need either, multi-million-dollar updates. Well, they've already taken multi-million-dollar updates to make them to where they're serviceable for another 25, 30 years. A building on this campus, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years old. We're not investing in brand new buildings yet. I look at this as an investment in the students who come to this community. That's how I look at it. I know it costs me $20 to $30 a month, but that's a budget constraint that I'll take on my limited budget because I'm retired and I'm not working to where, I have readily cash, but I'll take that. I'll answer questions from my constituents about the value that they get from Butler Community College and how it benefits them.
Aaron?
Well, I just want to clarify what we're voting on today is not the end. All we're saying is that we're creating a notification that we're considering this.
Correct.
That's correct.
The way that Mary read it, though, it's also including 5% value increase and an additional mill increase. So it's both numbers included. So it's going from 11.61 to, it's not simply stating we're going to exceed revenue neutral. We're going to exceed revenue neutral and we intend to raise taxes 1.7.
Which is why I'll vote no, because of how the motion was read, just for clarity.
Well, the
Okay.
motion is
I understand.
stated that way because that's how it has to be stated legally, correct?
Right.
I mean, basically, right?
In order for us to levy the 13.269, which is what we're recommending, you would need to pass this motion.
But I think to Aaron's point, all we're officially doing today is setting a not greater than number.
Yeah, you're
And then
setting the
we'll actually
maximum.
Decide in September what the.
So like Aaron and Kim are saying, we could change the 13,269 number to reflect the $700,000 increase based on that total, which would, I mean, we could pick that number pretty dang close out of the hat. And not
But
have
that
that.
won't allow us to
additional-
raise, that won't allow them to raise it the
It
full
would-
bill.
No.
No, it would allow us to capture
Right.
the 5% increase, because you just have to take 5% more than what the total. And
Shelby, let's be forthright here. Even if we did that, you're gonna vote against it in September and say that we should be revenue
Correct.
neutral.
But it would allow the administration time to adjust their, but I'm not trying to be a jerk. It would
No, I'm
allow
not.
them, no, I know.
You
To
sound
adjust-
like you're trying to advocate for.
No, I'll
I'd vote
totally
for it.
vote
You know
against it.
that's not
There's no
what
way.
you're
I will give you a double, boom, no way. But it would allow the
But you might
administration
actually
to
get
say.
a big vote instead of a,
Yeah,
you
guys
know,
might get
whatever,
out
but
there.
just throwing that out there, but we.
But it would be like, hey,
Okay.
we're going to exceed, we're not going to exceed more than the increase in the valuations.
This resolution gives us that parameter. We can go up to 13.269. I want to add a couple of things. Aaron asked last month about how much this would mean to the taxpayer. These are for residential only, but Shelby says 197,825 is the average or median value price of a home in Butler County. That would raise that residence taxes $22.75 a year. If their house is worth 300,000, it'll be 34.50. And basically, it just raises it $11.50 for every $100,000 of value. So, if that makes sense.
The problem I have with it though, that only tells part of the story. If you compare that same value house to the same value house in Sedgwick County, your taxes in Butler County are considerably higher. I don't know the exact percentage. I want to say 15-20%. Does that sound right to you, Linda?
Well, there's a fallacy there if you're just going to look at numbers, because we have areas in Wichita that their school tax rate is so low and their county taxes are tremendously less than Butler County's. Yes, we can be responsible for the 13.269, 12.269 portion of the mill levy. But, just the economy of scale, you get into a bigger area, city of Wichita or the 2559 school district. I mean, their taxes are significantly lower. I
If you look at like
realize that.
Andover School District, part of Sedgwick County versus Andover School District, part of Butler County, there's a reason that the Sedgwick County side is growing much faster than the Butler County side. And that's the inequity that bothers me as far as us getting this county to grow. Like I've said before, it's the chicken and the egg argument. It's like you need the growth, but then the taxes are in the way of the growth. But if you had more rooftops, then it would generate more taxes, and then hopefully buy a house, it would eventually go down, but we can't do that because the taxes are high. And it's like, at some point, the madness has to just stop. And it's like, and Shelby said, our buildings are only at 60% capacity. I just think there should be a really hard look at our rooftops. I mean, there's campuses all over the state that are taking down buildings. There's ways to get your insurance costs down. There's ways to consolidate and share and just be more proactive. I've given this example a million times when the city of Augusta School District closed down Robinson and turned it into a rec center for the town. It was a net positive for the town, even though the students of Robinson, I mean, think of the kids that have been there since till third grade, and then they had to go up and change their grade school in fourth grade, fifth grade. They didn't want to do that. But as a whole, for the community, it was better. And I just don't think we as an institution have done that deep of a dive. I understand that there have been some things done, but I don't think we've done anything that's overly painful to try to fix this.
Another thing I want to mention is we saw a few months ago, I have always been interested in taking the valuation increase because, as I said, for years I worked to see those valuations increase on the residential and commercial side. And we've left those on the table to the tune of about $5 million over the last few years. So if we had just taken the valuations, then we could be more sustainable at a set mill levy rate. But we have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussion?
I have a couple questions,
Yes.
or a quick one. If you take 65,000 residents, $1.7 million, it's 37 or $38 and change per every single person in the county is another way to look at it. Not just the average median home, but I mean, it wouldn't affect everybody the same because they have
Not everybody's a
cheaper. Right, but even low income renters,
Oh, rental rates have gone
you,
like. they-
I mean, I've
they
got
don't
so
get
many people I
property
need to
tax.
raise their rent on, but they can't afford it is now, and then my retirement money just goes because of my insurance and everything else. And if you, I can make it, if you amended the motion at a 6% increase, which is higher than the projected, it would be 13.0. And then you guys could say, hey, we're gonna capture all the increase and maybe a little bit more. Then everybody would know if the board doesn't intend to take an additional mill and the increase. At least administration and staff would know now how to budget. I'll vote for against either way, but I mean, I think that would be the.
Okay, right now we have this motion and second.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I move to amend the motion to make that mill levy rate 13.0.
Do I have a second for that?
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion
Where
and
we stand, and we
second.
can get on with the meeting.
We have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Good,
No.
trustee Brumgard,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
No.
trustee Jolly,
No.
trustee Hueslick,
No.
trustee Shearer,
No.
and trustee Smith.
Yes. So I think we
Okay.
know where we all stand now. Let's try on.
Okay, so,
Just keep the conversation real short next month.
Yeah.
okay, so now we have the original motion made by Mary Martha, seconded by Dave. Could we have any other discussion on it?
And this doesn't set it. It's like Dr. Usually saying, this is not in stone. This just allows you to move up to that amount.
Okay, roll call on that.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brumgart,
No.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes,
trustee Hueslick,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
No.
okay, that motion passes 5-2. Next on
I
our,
move the facilities management. We approve the proposal for Mid-Continental Restoration for 56,235 from facilities management.
Second.
okay, any discussion on that item?
Ireland, was this something that was, I mean, this building isn't all that old. Is it expected that some of these things with the brick exterior that you're gonna have some of this stuff, or was this kind of unexpected in the overall scheme of things?
No, it's expected. If you're supposed to maintain the concrete and brick, put a seal on it about every 10 years. We started to having some leaks in the building. A lot of brick. We've tried to put Thompson's water seal on it, and it isn't working real well. This product here, from talking to several school districts in the state, they're using this product, and it's worked real good for them. So,
Thank you.
I didn't look, was there warranty? Do we know warranty information on this? Do they warrant that?
yes, there's warranty. Garland Industries is the manufacturer of the product, and they it's their warranty, and that they will come out and take care of any issues.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? There is none. Take a roll call.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brumgart,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes,
trustee Hueslick,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
motion passes 7-0. 9C, architectural services for
I
the
would
sixth.
move to authorize Dr. Kroll to execute a contract with Gravity Works Architecture for the 700 HVAC upgrade project based on proposal submitted by Vince Haynes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? I did have a question. Do we know what it says in there, what their percentage of their fee will go to each thing? What do we think their estimated overall fee would be at 100%?
The overall fee, it depends on the scope of the project. The budget that we have listed in the deferred maintenance is the top of our budget. Once we hire a CMR construction, and then we will work on the scope. But with that percentage of their fee of the 7.5%, that also pays the mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, the commissioning company, and the structural engineer out of that too. So all those engineers are under this architectural fee.
And so we expect the improvements or the deferred maintenance on the two buildings over the 2-year period of time to be what you have in the capital improvement.
Yes, that is the top of the budget because we will work the projects within those budgets. So.
Other questions? If none, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brongart,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Huesling,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, we go on to the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Is there any discussion on any of the consent agenda
I
items?
vote no, because I don't agree with CA, which I generally do every year. I don't agree with a lot of certain number of things we get from council, so that's why I'm gonna go ahead.
Any other discussion? If none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brongart,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Huesling,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Okay, consent agenda passes 6-0. Supplemental information, key performance indicators update. There is no update this month. Monthly statement of revenues and expenditures.
We don't typically have one in July since we're just starting
Yeah.
the budget year, so.
So with those we went over those. There weren't any other questions on statement of revenue and expenditures. Okay, thank you notes.
None.
Okay, board calendars and mentions there.
No, just, again, the Sunday fun day, August 18th. We'll get that on
Okay.
your calendar, work session on the 22nd. So.
Okay, next item is executive session. And then maybe we take a short break before we go into that.
I can come on Tuesday.
And how much time?
I think we put 60 minutes down.
Is it 60?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a
Don't-
motion?
Don't jinx it. We're always.
Okay.
Well, we got out early last time, so I'll make the motion. So maybe we'll do the same thing.
There
Okay.
you go.
Madam Chair, I move that the board recess into executive session to discuss negotiations and non-elected personnel pursuant to the open meetings exception for said matters, and that the board, President Kim Kroll, Shelley Stoltz, Kent Williams, Bill Rinkenbaugh, Dr. Phil Sperry, and Kim Jackson be included. The meeting will resume in the Dankert Trustee Boardroom within 60 minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brongart,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Huesling,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
and trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, take a brief break.
I don't schedule.
The negotiation.
Got back up.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Thanks for your thought. Thanks for your testimony.
I may have to sneak a couple of them.
Aaron, I see you over there eating chocolate. You shouldn't be doing that.
Drinking coffee, David.
Drinking coffee.
I encourage you to try
You
it.
get free teeth whitening at your place.
What's that again?
You get free teeth whitening.
You know, I get free everything.
No,
Well,
no bikini.
yeah. Pay for it.
Happy cat.
is here so that we can all come and reserve our
It's
seating.
below Dolly. So, yeah, I'm Mrs. Rose.
Good. You're good?
Okay, so we went into executive session at 6:38 and came out at 7:38. I don't think I need anything more there and just would take a motion.
Move to adjourn, Madam Chairman.
Third.
Roll call.
Trustee Good.
Yes.
Trustee Brungart.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Jolly.
Yes.
Trustee Hueslick.
Yes.
Trustee Shear.
Yes.
And Trustee Smith.
Yes.
I didn't go over my list. I'll go over it with you.
Yeah. You can capture it.
And we've got the Act One players putting on the film for that show.